Danganronpa endings are controversial. There are many people that hate every chapter 6 in the series, and this hate just seems to increase with each installment. From my understanding, most fans feel okay about chapter 6 from Danganronpa 1. Some like it because they find Junko entertaining, but some also feel like it fell flat because Junko sort of just came out of nowhere, and they kept saying hope and despair a bunch of times. Danganronpa 2's chapter 6 is a bit different. There are people who really love it, like people who think it's a top 5 case. Then there are people who really hate it and think it's a bottom 5 case, but most people would probably rank it somewhere in the middle. I think the people that dislike this one dislike it because the trial drags on, and then the other reason is Junko's appearance again. A lot of people just didn't want Junko to be the main villain again, and a lot of people felt like Junko got worse in her second appearance. But I'm not really sure why, because personally I thought she was really good in 2, but to each their own, I guess. Then we get to V3. Danganronpa V3's ending is definitely more poorly received than it is well received. There are some people who hate the entire series because of this ending, and chances are those people are probably not going to watch this video. Then there's me, who thinks this is the best ending to any video game ever. Now hold on before you start screaming or raging. I haven't played every video game in the world, so there could be a better video game ending out there, but out of every game I played, this right here is my favorite. Now I'm not trying to change your opinion with this video. If you hate this ending, I understand why. But there's a chance that you might not understand how someone can like this trial. And that's why I'm here. Today, I'm gonna go through this trial section by section and try to explain why I love this ending so much. I'm gonna give around 8 to 9 reasons as to why I really like this trial and why this is my favorite ending out of all the Danganronpa games. So, let's get right into it. Now, a common complaint I hear about the ending is that the ending comes out of nowhere. I really don't think that's the case, and to understand why, let's take a look at the events that happened in the rest of the game. The plot of the game was that there was a disease very similar to the coronavirus, but in the game, it is much more lethal and wiped out most of the population. Only 16 people survived because they were immune to the virus, and somehow they were all ultimates. Now this scenario seems way too perfect because everyone that was immune to the virus was an ultimate. There are also other moments that seem too perfect, such as Kibo's antenna getting knocked off in chapter 5, which is basically how chapter 6 even takes place. Combine this with all the heavy foreshadowing in the prologue, and the fact that Monokuma is trying to make this game interesting for the audience, and we get this ending. Now I don't care if you hate this ending, but one thing that does bug me is when people say this ending was rushed, or that there was no thought put into this ending. There was clearly a lot of thought put into this ending. Just rewatch the prologue, and it's not just the prologue, the whole game builds up to this ending. Kokichi realizing that there must be people watching this killing game, all of Miu's inventions, Tsumugi's cospox, the unexplained questions in Trial 1. There are also so many pieces of dialogue hinting at the fact that there was an audience watching this killing game. And the other thing is the theme of this game. Lies everywhere. Kokichi lying in the trials, the flashback lights. There's a big focus on this theme, and the final trial fits this theme so much, because essentially everything these characters knew was a lie. So I don't think this ending came out of nowhere, but now let's talk about how this trial is good as a finale. The final chapter has to be grand. What do I mean by a grand finale? Well, a grand finale has some of the craziest plot twists. It's usually the longest trial, it usually has the biggest dilemmas and conflicts, and it brings the whole series together. Now let's look at how V3's chapter is the grand finale. The plot twists. So many things go down in this final chapter. We first retry a past case, and realize Kaede was wrongly convicted. Then we figure out who the mastermind is. Then we see Tsumugi transform into Junko. Then all of a sudden she's Hajime, and she's cosplaying all the past DR characters. And then we realize everything that happened in DR1 and DR2 were fictional. and the characters in V3 are real people that were given fake personalities and backstories. Then we see the audience commenting on what is happening, then we play as Kibo, Maki, and Himiko for a while, then we stop playing the game, then we convince the outside world to end Danganronpa. You see how many things are happening in this last trial? Heck, I probably left out some things, but that just shows how many twists there really are, and how many things happen in this last trial. Even if you hate this trial, I don't think this trial will bore you out, just because of how much goes down. The only way this trial could bore you out is probably the length of the trial, but again, so much is happening in this amount of time. And also, based on how long Danganronpa 2's last trial is, I think the player should expect a long trial, and know when to take breaks. Another thing that makes this finale grand is how the characters from DR1 and DR2 come back. I just thought it was so great seeing everyone back again, and it's fun seeing those characters interact with the V3 cast. The old characters just made this trial so much more fun, because the mastermind is basically playing 32 characters you are already familiar with. It's crazy that they got all the old voice actors back for this, and some of the references made, such as 11037, and a lot of the dialogue made by these characters are just so funny. The delivery of these lines are great too. Remember this moment?
So who the hell are you? I'm me, no one else.
There are a lot of moments like these that just send a chill down your spine or get you reacting strongly. The fact that all the characters could be in one trial really does make this feel like the big finale, and I think it really made this trial interesting. Another thing I like about this trial is the characters' reactions to the big twist. When it's revealed that they are fictional people, the surviving cast is filled with despair. Now don't get me wrong, the characters in the first two games were filled with despair as well, but I feel like it hit much harder for this surviving cast. Their facial expressions and voice acting really just make it seem like they've given up, and at one point, it really does seem like they've given up. What I especially like is how this despair also hits the player. In the first game, the cast realized the outside world is in complete chaos, and in the second game, the cast realizes that they are the ultimate despair. These were good twists, but I didn't really feel the despair that much. My reaction was basically, damn, these are cool twists. However, in the third game, when it was revealed that everyone in Danganronpa is fictional, it makes the player react strongly along with the characters. Kodaka did say this was intentional, and I think he succeeded at this. When it's revealed that the cast was fictional, I was depressed for a good moment. I was wondering what the point of the story was. I also do want to add, I really loved seeing Shuichi and the gang react to Crazy Kaede and Kaito. I think most people would be sad or mad during the scene, but I was just filled with excitement during the scene. Like, it was nice seeing the V3 cast filled with despair when their most loved cast members looked like maniacs. So yeah, I just had a lot of fun with that part. Now, I think the biggest issue for most people is the fact that they say Danganronpa 1 and 2 are fictional in the V3 universe. Now, this doesn't really bother me, and I'm kind of surprised it doesn't. Like, honestly, I thought a meta ending like this would bother me, but for some reason it didn't. Maybe I don't care because Danganronpa 1 and 2 really are fictional. I mean, they're not real in our world, so the game isn't wrong. Along with this reveal, I want to talk about the audience. Again, I loved the audience reveal. It shook me when I just saw real faces and then comments that Danganronpa fans would actually say. This whole section was mind-blowing and funny to me at the same time. The creators really did know the Danganronpa audience well, because the comments you see in this final trial are very, very accurate. And when I say that, I mean this is how normal Danganronpa fans act. I know that's a big generalization, but hey, I think we can agree a good portion of the fandom says things like this. Now, I've actually seen a lot of complaints regarding the audience, and from what I can gather, there are people who are offended by the inclusion of the audience. Basically, there are some fans who think Kodaka is insulting them by calling fans out on liking the Killing game. These people think Kodaka is telling us that we are bad people for liking Danganronpa. Now, in an interview, Kodaka said that this wasn't his intention at all. He said that the fans of the Danganronpa V3 universe are different from the fans of the real world. The fans in the V3 world are much more obsessed with the killing game than the people of the real world. However, some fans don't believe Kodaka here. And my stance on this is Kodaka's half telling the truth and half lying here. I do think he's telling the truth when he says that the fans in the V3 world are more obsessed about the killing game than we are. I mean, Danganronpa is a reality show in V3. They're killing real people for entertainment. Here, Danganronpa is fiction. Also in the V3 world, it seems like Danganronpa is really popular, and in the real world, Danganronpa isn't too popular. I mean, it's gaining a lot of popularity in 2020, but it's still nowhere near as popular as it is in the V3 universe. But I do think the fans have a point when they say that the audience is a call out to real life fans. Again, look at what these people are saying, and also these people have real human faces. That really does make it seem like the fans in V3 are supposed to be the fans in real life. However, I don't really find the inclusion of the audience to be offensive in any way. I mean, if this is a call out, then I think it's a really good call out. When we don't get any more main series Danganronpa games, what do? We start watching fan games, making theory about fan games, obsessing over these characters in these fan games. So this call out is very accurate. And it's kind of crazy when you realize that there are hundreds of thousands of people who are just waiting for fictional characters to die. Like seriously, we know these characters are gonna die, but that's why we keep playing. We like this series that's filled with despair, and I think it's fine to call out fans on that. I really do like what V3 has to tell the player. There was a message to take away at the end of V3's ending, and this message was fiction's impact on people. Fiction isn't real, but it can impact your life a lot. If you're watching this video, chances are you've spent hours watching or reading anything Danganronpa related. Do you think those hours haven't changed you in any way? Danganronpa has definitely changed me. It's shown me different problems people can face throughout their day-to-day lives through their characters. The way these characters can move forward after facing complete despair is inspirational. Shuichi and the gang were all fictional, but they were able to change the outside world. And I think that reflects how all these Danganronpa characters have made us, the real-life audience, change. Believe it or not, another reason I love this trial so much is because it's so polarizing. I guess you could say the audience is split down the middle. And I like that because it creates a lot of discussion among the community. It's also why I like Danganronpa as a series. There are lots of varying opinions of the series, especially when it comes to its characters. The amount of differing opinions on characters is just insane, and it's always fun to see what characters people like and don't like, and the reasons for it. This probably goes hand in hand with the last point, but I love seeing how people react to this trial. The amount of Let's Plays I have watched only for this last trial is insane. I just love seeing people's reactions to this final trial, because everyone's reactions to this trial are just priceless. Like, I don't care who you are. Your reaction to this trial will be funny even if you don't think you're funny. It literally doesn't matter. If you get any person to play all 3 Danganronpa games and get them to this trial, their reaction to this is gonna be good. Every 5 minutes in this trial, you're gonna have some sort of strong reaction, whether that be anger, excitement, anything. You're gonna have some sort of strong reaction, and that's why I love this trial. This is the last and probably the most important point. I think people forget that this ending is left very ambiguous. It is ambiguous to the point that we really don't know if the Hope's Peak saga is fictional or not. We can't believe anything Smoogie says because it could just all be a lie. There are many questions that go unanswered, and we can speculate, but I don't think we'll really be able to know what was a lie and what was the truth. But I really like this because I feel like this encompasses Danganronpa as a whole. Junko has done the same thing in the past 2 games. She has told many lies just to make the characters feel despair. Sure, some of the things she says is true, but some of the things she says is either a white lie or just flat out completely a lie. Not only that, the characters of Danganronpa constantly use lies. All the culprits in the trials have to lie. There are characters like Ishimaru who have to tell lies to themselves to ignore the harsh reality of the world. Danganronpa is a series filled with lies. It's not just V3. V3 just brings this theme to the limelight. So that concludes my thoughts on V3's ending. I love this ending so much, and if I really had to summarize why, I would just say I love how so much happens during this trial, and how everything that happened during this trial got a strong reaction out of me. I was just enjoying how fast paced it was. Even though it's the longest trial in the series, I think it's very compact. They make sure they use all this time wisely, and a lot is happening. Now I do realize that Shuichi, Maki, and Himiko influencing the outside world may have been what Tsumugi wanted, because she said she copied someone and her plan failed right at the end, just as it was supposed to. And Tsumugi did write these characters, so she probably gave them the will to end Danganronpa. Now to some people, it really does make this game feel pointless, but I want to say 2 things. 1, this could be a lie. Now you might argue that this is only a possibility, but that's why there's a light at the end of the tunnel. You're probably really confused right now because I'm bad with words, but let me put it this way. Imagine some god just appeared in the world and told everyone that their life was predetermined. You have no control over what you're doing. You're just doing what destiny is telling you to do. If that happened, people would probably be filled with despair because they can't do anything about the state of their life. It's all out of their control. Until you consider the possibility that what this god said was a lie. Maybe this god is telling the truth, but isn't it better to live believing you can control your own actions? Isn't it better to live believing that you can impact the world through your own decisions? In the same way, you can view Tsumugi as this god, and her controlling every action of the V3 cast. And if she can truly control every single thing about their lives, then that really is the greatest despair. But for these characters to move forward and be happy, this hopeful lie that they changed the outside world is better than them living in the despair that everything is pointless and all their actions are predetermined. Anyways, I've been rambling on for way too long. Sorry if this video is like 300 hours long. Maybe I cut out a lot of stuff at the end. I really don't know. But I don't want to waste your time anymore, so bye.